So let me share my screen, and the first thing I'm going to show you is the file, the actual data contained within the lockbox file for this particular client. So this is a BAI2 formatted file that most customers for ACH would receive. One of the main challenges that the client had with Celigo, apart from the fact that there was, intermittent connectivity issues and they were having trouble sometimes getting these files transmitted from the bank. In this client's use case specifically, they had a lot of customers that were remitting payment for multiple invoices. One payment could correspond to, sometimes a dozen or more invoices that were sitting open in NetSuite. And one of the limitations with Celigo is they're only able to pick up certain types of lines. And specifically in the case of a BAI2, I think they only read these lines that start with a 16. Everything else from their standpoint is basically discarded. They really don't evaluate that information so much. So the challenge in this particular client's use case is they have a lot of other information that's transmitted through this file that contains valuable information in terms of us being able to match a payment to an existing invoice inside of NetSuite.
So this is an interesting question because when people are paying a bill and this third party is offering a service, is there something that the party paying the bill is providing identifying information about the invoice, typically like a remittance if they were paying a check, and somehow that gets into this environment? There's more data than Celigo was looking at. Is that fair? Am I understanding you correctly?
That's exactly correct, yes.
Okay.
So, and where that is specifically is inside of these lines called addendas. So you see these 88, these are continuation lines is what they're referred to from the BAI format specification. But inside of these addendas, you have EDI 823 formatted data that Celigo wasn't able to process and parse from their native application. So what was happening is the client is remitting payment, and a lot of times inside of this data, they're telling us which invoice numbers and sometimes even the payment amounts for each invoice that is being paid, via the way of this payment. So because that was being, I won't say discarded, but not parsed by Celigo's application, all of that information is effectively lost, I guess you can say. The information is surfaced to the end user. There's no processing done to be able to automatically apply payments. What that resulted in is the client would have to go to each payment record. And I think we saw that around 60% or so of the payments that were being processed through cash application were not able to be automatically applied. So in all of those cases, they would have to go transaction by transaction. They would have to fish out the invoice numbers that they would identify, through just, normal use and normal observation. And then they would have to go manually apply that invoice inside of NetSuite to the payment that was created by Celigo. It effectively turned Celigo into kind of, just an import tool for the most part. Mm-hmm. So that was really the pain point that the client had that we tried to solve for with this application. Basically giving them the ability to, or giving our application rather, the ability to not only pick up this information, but to be able to parse it and, use that data to be able to find invoices in NetSuite and automatically apply them.
Okay, and is it also fair to say that because the client was kind of looking at this data raw as it was trying to do work, that it kind of knew what to interpret in this data to help us with designing algorithms to do it on their behalf?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And they were very instrumental in the onset of this project to be able to help us identify what these patterns were and what they were able to see so that we could then write our own parser logic to be able to grab that information. So the way that we went about solutioning this is that we used a couple of existing libraries that we already have. One of them, which I don't have up on the screen here, is our SFTP solution. And we had the client help us establish an SFTP connection from the bank to NetSuite using our SFTP tool. And then we're able to pull that BAI2 file directly into the NetSuite file cabinet. And then from that point, the file that gets put into the NetSuite file cabinet is automatically picked up by our record import export manager. What it's doing is it's taking this BAI2 file and it's parsing all of that data out into a big JSON object that we're able to then use to, to process through our cache application and create all of the records downstream inside of NetSuite. Within RIEM, there are a few different types of files or types of formats that are supported. We have CSV, tab, pipe, XML, JSON, etc. There's no processor inside of NetSuite, at least natively, to be able to parse this BAI2 data into a digestible format. So just wrote our own flat file text parser, and now RIEM natively supports the parsing of BAI2 data.
Okay, so the beauty of it is the idea is you define the data here in terms of like its file pattern, its layout pattern, and so forth. This allows it to ingest a file and know how to parse it, then to present the information in a standardized way, which is a function of JSON and some other data formats that allows you to stay in a particular business logic mind frame for how you're going to actually move that data into the NetSuite database properly, correct?
Correct. This one was a job that has already been parsed from RIEM into cache application. So I will show you the visual process of how all of these records get created from this RIEM job. So once this file is picked up and processed by RIEM, sort of the last step in the RIEM process is to feed this JSON data into cache application automatically. We may need to create a single batch of transactional data, or we may need to create multiple batches in some cases. It just depends on the data contained within the file. So this RIEM job will yield either one or multiple cache app batch records.